So I've been thinking about posting more videos here, but all of a sudden I got this really intense push, and it felt like someone here is on a precipice of a really big breakthrough. And what I'm feeling is there's this anxious energy, but it's like building up to a point where there's nowhere left to go but to break through. Similar to, like, I guess maybe a birthing process, or even like, the butterfly coming out of the cocoon. You just reach this point where you're going to suffocate if you don't move forward. And that is the energy that's coming through. What I'm also getting is this feels connected to having opened up to new things and wanting to really like move forward all the way into that, but then feeling kind of pulled back into some old things. And what's coming through is that it doesn't have to be always all or nothing. It's really about taking the parts from the past that are meant to be with you into the future, and also allowing yourself to move forward into the new, even though you might still have things to connect with from the past. Okay, as soon as I said that, what I actually felt is there's something from the past that is pulling on you. But this actually feels like something that does actually need to be addressed. And what I'm seeing as I'm saying that is there is a conversation that's needing to happen. And what I'm feeling from you is the uncertainty of like what's going to happen in this conversation. But what's really most important is that the communication and the conversation has to be opened. And that's why there's this like feeling of like wanting to explode, or like something has to open in this energy. And seeing a lot of different visions as I'm saying this. So, what I'm going to do is actually, I feel guided to pull a few cards for those of you here just to see what support wants to come through. What the first thing that's coming out of the gate is like this fast part, it's this hesitation. There's an anxious feeling, but there's also an anxious anticipation. So there's an anxiousness that feels a bit afraid of like, what is this conversation going to open? How are they going to respond to this conversation? But then there's that anxious anticipation that is actually excited to reopen the conversation. Because when I tap into that part right there, it feels actually really good, because it feels like no matter how they respond or don't respond, this feels important for you to be able to break through what has been holding you back. So if you put out the communication and you get no response, you still took action as you were guided, and then you can move forward from there. If they do respond, well, then you just take it one sentence or one step at a time. You do not need to know the whole pathway of what is opening up in front of you. What feels important is that you actually break through and to go to your next step. And you don't need to know the whole future pathway. You don't need to know everything that's going to unfold. In fact, it's not your job to know everything that's going to unfold. Because if you're genuinely going to this person or to have this conversation in new energy, with solutions, with ideas, with true energy of reciprocity, then that's what they're going to feel. And if it's aligned, it will open up. And if not, then you know the energy that you're coming from. You broke through your fears, and now you can work through letting it go or letting it be. Or they could just need space to process what you've presented them with. Okay. So it feels like you really have to break through this fear, whether it's an old love, whether this is for a dream that you've had, a dream job, a dream school, a dream move. It feels like something very important to you. And that's why the anxiety is there, because this feels like something you really truly want. And the anxiety is coming from the fear that you might not be able to get what it is that you want. But what's really coming through right now is this is the pathway to get there, to get to what you want, to get to where you're meant to be. And yes, sometimes it doesn't look exactly how we think in our mind it's going to look, but this is the breakthrough you're requiring to get through, to get closer to your dream, even if it ends up looking different than what you originally thought. This breakthrough is the pathway. This energy of allowing yourself to actually open up. These fell on my lap, and I have eye of the needle, intentionality, and empty well, time to replenish. And what this is saying is you have gone as far as you can go with what you've been doing. There's really nothing left that you can do within where you're going, which is why you're feeling there's nowhere left to go but to move forward, to have the conversation, to take that leap off the edge, right? To go into the new territory. And that's why the eye of the needle is coming through. Okay, this is that point of intentionality where no one can go through this eye of the needle with you. You have to do this all on your own. This is what I'm feeling. Wow, we've been talking about this on my other channel, One Foot in One World, One Foot in the Other. This is like you don't know what's going to be on the other side of the needle, which makes it scary, right? Because you're like, you're going someplace you've never gone before. But guess what? If you want something you've never had before, you have to be willing to do something you've never done. You have to be willing to go places you have never gone. And that is the push and the pressure that you are feeling. Okay. And what feels most important is you're going to squeeze through this needle. You're going to get out the other side. You're going to be okay. You're going to survive whatever happens in this conversation or in this experience. In fact, this birthing through the other side is what is going to propel you towards your dreams, towards what it is that you want. Okay. But if you keep avoiding it, you keep swirling in the emptiness, you keep swirling in the energies that are getting you in the looping nowhere. So, whatever this is, oh, I'm getting for some of you, this might even be a blind spot that you can't even see. Okay. I need to get deeper with this because what I'm feeling is some of you don't know what it is, but you feel the push to go forward. Okay. I was seeing the Priestess of Light deck earlier. So, what is this for those of you that feel the push forward, but you're not sure what it is, or you have a few ideas, but you're not? What I'm getting is you might actually even have ideas what needs to break through, but you have no idea how to actually break through it. Okay. Setting boundaries, threshold protection, and honor. Okay. So what I'm getting is either you set some boundaries for yourself a while ago around this, and now it might be actually becoming a defense mechanism. There may have been a time where you needed to have a strong boundary to protect yourself while you were growing, right? Just like the cocoon. But now you've grown to the point where that protection, that cocoon that you've had around you is actually becoming a barrier to receiving what it is that you want. So This is not saying get rid of all your boundaries. This is saying look at some that you might be ready to expand or change. Maybe you have outgrown some of the boundaries you originally had for yourself. I'm also getting that if this is a conversation with someone that you've wanted to have for a while and they set a boundary with you, you might have that hesitation around if they're going to actually have the conversation with you or not. And what's coming through is to actually work with that boundary in a respectful manner. You don't have to just like bust through. You can energetically ask, is it aligned? What is the appropriate way for me to go about this in a respectful way? Okay. That feels like an important part of it because I'm getting that in most cases, if you come to somebody with truth and honesty and genuine connection and genuine energy, most of the time, if they're ready for it, they will receive that. But then again, this is where you just have to be willing to take that chance. And if what's coming to me is if you did something that would make them create that strong boundary with you, then you just have to be willing to respect that it might be a process to regain trust. It might be a process to regain camaraderie and reciprocity and friendship. But that's where you have to decide what's most important to you and for you. Okay. What are you willing to do? Okay. Because yes, people might have hard boundaries up with you if you were disrespectful or hurtful to them. But if you've genuinely learned your lessons or you've genuinely expanded or genuinely realize it, or yeah, let's just any of those things, whatever it is that got you to this point where you feel like you're going to explode if you don't reopen this conversation, something got you to that. So if you're still hesitant at this point, ask yourself, is it genuine? Or are you just trying to make yourself feel better? Or do you genuinely want to reopen this out of reciprocity? Okay. Wow. All right. That's for like a relationship. I know there was a lot in this, and I know I touched on job or whatever, but I'm going to trust that that is whatever you guys needed to hear. Okay. We're going to leave it there and hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Take care. Bye.